Hi kids, Michael McJunkin here, and welcome to another Read Aloud video. And just in time for Earth Day, I'm going to be reading aloud The Lorax by Dr. Suess. So, let us begin. At the far end of town, where the grickle grass grows, and the wind smells slow and sour when it blows, and no birds ever sing excepting old crows, is the street of lifted Lorax. And deep in the grickle grass, some people say, if you look deep enough, you can still see today where the Lorax once stood just as long as it could, before somebody lifted the Lorax away. What was the Lorax, and why was it there? And why was it lifted and taken somewhere? From the far end of town, where the grickle grass grows, the old Onceler still lives here. Ask him, he knows. You won't see the Onceler. Don't knock at his door. He stays in his lurkin on top of his store. He lurks in his lurkin, could underneath the roof, where he makes his own clothes out of muffled moof, and on special dank midnights in August, he peeks out of the shutters, and sometimes he speaks, and tells how Lorax was lifted away. He'd tell you, perhaps, if you're willing to pay. On the end of the rope, he lets down a pintail, and you have to toss in 15 cents and a nail and the shell of a great-great-great-grandfather snail. Then he pulls up the pail, makes a most careful count to see if you'd paid him the proper amount. Then he hides what you paid him away in his snub, his secret strange hole in his grugvarious glove. Then he grunts, I will call you by whisper my phone, for the secrets I tell are for your ears alone. Slop! Down slops the whisper my phone to your ear, and the old Onceler's whispers are not very clear, since they have to come down through a snurgly hose, as in sounds as he had smallish bees up his nose. Now I'll tell you, he says, with his teeth sounding gray, how the Onceler got lifted and taken away, how the Lorax got lifted and taken away. It all started way back, such a long, long time back. Way back in the days when the grass was still green, and the pond was still wet, and the clouds were still clean, and the song of the swans rang out in space. One morning I came to this glorious place, and I first saw the trees, the truffula trees. The bright-colored tufts of the truffula trees, mile after mile in the fresh morning breeze. And under the trees I saw brown barbaloots, frisking about in their barbaloot suits, as they played in the shade and ate truffula fruits. From the ripulous pond came the comfortable sound of the humming fish humming while splashing about. But those truffula trees, all my life I've been searching for trees such as these. The touch of their tufts were much softer than silk, and they had sweet smell of fresh butterfly milk. I felt a great leaping of joy in my heart. I knew just what I'd do. I'd unload in my cart. In no time at all, I had built a small shop. Then I chopped down a truffula tree with one chop, and with great skillful skill, and with great speedy speed, I took the soft tuft, and I knitted a thread. The instant I'd finished, I heard a thump. I looked, I saw something pop out of the stump, of the tree that I chopped down. It was sort of a man. Describe him? That's hard, I don't know if I can. He was shortish and oldish and brownish and mossy, and he spoke with a voice that was sharpish and bossy. Mister, he said with a sawdusty sneeze, I am the Lorax. I speak for the trees. I speak for the trees have no tongues, and I'm asking you, sir, at the top of my lungs. He was very upset as he shouted and puffed, What's that thing you've made out of my truffula tuft? Look, Lorax, I said, there's no cause of alarm. I chopped the just one tree. I'm doing no harm. I'm being quite useful. This thing is a sneed. A thneed, a fine something that all people need. It's a shirt, it's a sock, it's a glove, it's a hat, but it has other uses. Yes, sir, beyond that, you can use it for carpets, for pillows, for sheets, or curtains, or covers for bicycle seats. The Lorax said, Sir, you are crazy with greed. There is no one in earth who would buy that fool need. But the very next minute I proved he was wrong. For just that minute, a chap came along, and he thought that the thneed I had knitted was great. He happily bought it for $3.98. I laughed at the Lorax. You poor stupid guy. You never can tell what some people will buy. I repeat, cried the Lorax, I speak for the trees. I'm busy, I told him. Shut up, if you please. I rushed across the room and in no time at all built a radio phone. I put in a quick call. I called all my brothers and uncles and aunts, and I said, Listen here. There's a wonderful chance for the whole Onceler family to get mighty rich. Get over there. Fast. Take the road to North Nitch. Turn left at Weehawken. Sharp right at South Stitch. And in no time at all, in the factory I built, the whole Onceler family was working full tilt. We were all knitting thieves, just as busy as bees, at the sound of the chopping of the truffula trees. Then, oh baby, oh, how my business did grow. Now chopping one tree at a time was too slow. So I quickly invented my super axe hacker, which whacked off 4 truffula trees at one smacker. We were making thneeds 4 times as fast as before, and that Lorax, he didn't show up anymore. But the next week, he knocked on my new office door. He snapped, I am the Lorax who speaks for the trees, which you seem to be chopping as fast as you please. But I'm also in charge of the brown barbaloots, who played in the shade in their barbaloot suits, and happily lived eating truffula fruits. Now, thanks to your hacking my trees to the ground, that's not enough truffula fruit to go around, and my poor barbaloots are all getting the crummies, because they have gas and no food in their tummies. They love to live in here, but I can't let them stay. They all have to find food, and I have that hope that they may. Good luck, boys, he cried, and he sent them away. I, the Onceler, felt sad as I watched them all go. But business is business, and business must grow, regardless of crummies and tummies, you know. I meant no harm. I truly did not. But I had to grow bigger. So bigger I got. I biggered my factory. I biggered my roads. I biggered my wagons. I biggered the loads of the sneeds I shipped out. I was shipping them forth, to the south, to the east, to the west, to the north. I went right on biggering, selling more thneeds, and I biggered more money, which everyone needs. Then again he came. I was fixing some pipes, when that old nuisance Lorax came back with more gripes. I am the Lorax! He coughed and he whiffled. He sneezed and he snuffled. He gargled, he sniffed. Onceler, he cried with a cuffulous croak. Onceler, you're making such schmogulous smoke. My poor schwans, why, they can't sing a note. No one can sing who has smog in their throat. And so, said the Lorax, please pardon my cough. They cannot live here, so I'm sending them off. Where will they go? I don't hopefully know. They may have to fly for the month or a year to escape for the smog you've smuggled up around here. There's what's more, snapped the Lorax. His donder was up. Let me say a few words about gluppity-glup. Your machinery chugs on day and night without stop making gluppity-glup. Also schluppity-schlop. And what do you do with this leftover goo? I'll show you, you dirty old Onceler man, you! You're glump in the pond where the humming fish hummed. No more can they hum, for their gills are all gummed. So I'm shutting them off. Won't all their future is dreary. They'll walk on their fins and get woefully weary in search of some water that isn't so smeary. And then I got mad. I got terribly mad. I yelled at the Lorax. Now listen in here, Dad. All you do is yap, yap, and say bad, 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 bad. Well, I have my rights, sir, and I'm telling you, I intended to go on doing just what I do. And for your information, you, Lorax, I'm figuring on biggering, and biggering, and biggering, and biggering. Turning more Trophula trees into thneeds, which everyone needs. Whew. And at that very moment, we heard a loud whack. From the outside of the fields came a sickening smack of an axe of a tree. Then we heard the tree fall. The very last Trophula tree of them all. No more trees, no more schneeds, no more work to be done. So in no time my uncles and aunts, everyone, all waved me goodbye. They jumped into my cars and drove away under the smoke-smothered stars. Now all that was left neath the bad-smelling sky was my big empty factory, the Lorax, and I. The Lorax said nothing, just gave me a glance. Just gave me a very sad backward glance as he lifted himself by the seat of his pants, and I'll never forget the grim look on his face when he hoisted himself and took leave of this place through a hole in the smog without leaving a trace. And all that Lorax left here in this mess was a small pile of rocks with the one word, unless. Whatever that meant, well, I just couldn't guess. That was long, long ago. But each day since that day, I've sat here and worried away. Through the years where my buildings had fallen apart, I've worried about it with all my heart. But now, says the Onceler, now that you're here, the words of the Lorax seem pretty clear. Unless someone like you cares a whole awful lot. Nothing is going to get better. It's not. So, catch, calls the Onceler. He lets something fall. It's a Trophula seed. It's the last one of all. You're in charge of the last of the Trophula seeds, and Trophula trees are what everyone needs. Plant a new Trophula, treat it with care, give it a clear water, and feed it fresh air. Grow a forest, protect it from axes that hack. Then the Lorax and all his friends may come back. The end. So, just like they said, unless someone like you cares a whole awful lot, nothing's going to get better. It's not. In fact, this one, we never see the Onceler's face because, well, in a way, it gives you the idea, makes you imagine, like, who could it be? It could be either you, or it could be the author. Like, the author himself to teach life lessons. Hope you kids, well, thanks for listening to this read aloud video, and I'll see you kids next time for another one. See you then.